Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the greatest live show of all time. That is right, everybody. Today, we're doing yet another episode of, whatever the hell this is. With that being said, hope you're doing well. I'm eating 9 cheeseburgers. Well, that's good or bad, depending on how much you enjoy that. So I took a shower, right? And I brushed my teeth as you do, after a shower. Dude, I think I got most of it out, dude. Getting toothpaste out of your hair is like an actual nightmare, I swear to God. Actually so annoying. Yeah, so that happened. I'm also doing a stream in my pajamas. With that being said, hello, Florida man, and congratulations on being the first person in chat today. Hello, PP Girl 420. Very good to see you again. Hello, some rock gamer kid. Hello, Mommy Ramiru. Hello, Fox on Pause. Hello, Clipped Angel. Hello, Ellie Venus. Hello, Kaido Shimizu. Anon 420 Serial. Rating Chaotic. Ensign. The Berber. Hey, Jess. Not toothpaste in my hair agony. Dude, it actually was agony. Bro, that was like so annoying. Like, why couldn't that have happened like, I don't know, before? I don't know. Maybe I should have just brushed my teeth before doing my shower. Oh well. But yeah. Spinny Circle of Doom. That better not be happening. Hello, my dear. Hello. Hello, Redhead. Very good to see you again. Hello, Kyle Webb. Hope you're doing well. You really showered? No, I would never shower. All right, I'm rot maxing. Come on. What do you think I am? So glad to see you again. Good to see you too, Dean Rainey. Hello, Jade. Saying, when I was younger, I got gum stuck in my hair because I thought I could be like the girl from Willy Wonka. Wow. Awesome stuff. That's wonderful. But yeah, I hope it's not lagging for anybody else. I hope that that's not on my end. Smiley had a bad J slur interview today. Wow. Well, my condolences. I put gum in my hair for the same reason, lol. Dude, yeah, I've never done that, actually. If you can believe that. I did a lot of weird things as a kid, but that was never one of them, thankfully. I'm glad that I never did that. Femi, your pajamas look really cute, girly. Thank you. I'm mainly wearing them because I'm lazy, and yeah, today's been a lazy day, alright? I'm not gonna lie. But, oh well. Anyways. Off yourself, scum. We coming for all of you. Space period. Thank you for sharing, Ghost Gaming. Very, very great stuff. Wonderful contributions. Hello, Abdurazak? Oh my god, sometimes I just can't pronounce people's names. What were some of the weird things you did? Oh god. Oh boy. A lot of them are things that I did on my previous YouTube channel in my teen years. Eating peas in the bathtub. That was a video, or that was part of a video. I ate watermelon in a bathtub. I poured barbecue sauce on my head. I drank barbecue sauce. What else have I done? I drank bathwater for views. I think I ended up privating or unlisting that video. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I've done, okay? A lot of stuff. But, yeah. Man, that was a weird era of my life, to say the very least. I don't know, maybe I go back to it. Girl, why do I love your voice so much? Your voice is goals. Well, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I did a lot of weird things. I'm trying to think back to before then. Because, like, I feel like... I feel like I'm definitely missing something. Oh, I know. I don't... This isn't something that I remember. But it's something I remember my mom telling me about way later. Is, I think when I was, like, 2 or 3, I I would do little art projects, okay? And one of them was, I would, gather all of the ashes from the fireplace, make a little mountain out of it. And then I would put my sippy cup on top. I was so proud, in fact, that I would tell my mom immediately. And, she was not very happy about it because there was footprints of, ashes from the fireplace all over the house. Because, that's what I was playing in. But if you think that that's bad or that would be an annoying mess to clean up, because I wasn't old enough to know any better. I wasn't old enough to clean up after myself. I was like 2 years old, right? I like barely knew how to walk, right? If you think that would be a terrible mess to clean up, I had some more art projects, I guess you could say, at that age. One of my favorite things to do back then, in fact, was to pour all of the laundry detergent on the floor and then dump all the kitty litter into the laundry detergent. And I would mix it together. I was also very proud of that. And I would show my mom. My mom would be like, "Who's gonna clean that up?" And I'd be like, "Mommy." She was like, "Yeah, yup, pretty much." That's what she told me. Again, I was too young to remember that. Yeah, I think I would have been 2. So, yeah, like basically not even sentient back then. But yeah, that was a fun time, I'm sure. One of the only fond memories that I could possibly have, and I don't even have access to it. I feel bad for your mom. Well, yeah, me too. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real. That was a time yeah, a time that technically she was alive, and it was a time. I guess you could say it was a time to be alive, except not really. But yeah, that was, man, maybe I should do more stuff like that. Except I would actually have to clean up after it, and that would not be worth it. Not even for a YouTube video. I'd have to, like, I mean, maybe it would if it, like, I don't know, paid off or something. If I did some shit like that and it got like 1,000,000 views. But yeah, even for 1,000,000 views, I don't know if it'd be worth it. But yeah, my mom was stuck doing that shit for free. Like, god damn, I must have been like a demon child. Actually, no. When I was really little like that, I wasn't a demon child. I was actually quite quiet compared to my older brother. But I was, when I was chaotic, I was really fucking chaotic. So, yeah, and I would do shit like that. You were a menace. I was absolutely a menace. I was born a menace. I was a menace before my first memory formed, okay? That's how much of a menace I was. Yeah, chaos goblin activities for sure. I'm gonna go eat. Good night, everyone. Have an awesome stream, Femyoz. You too, Mommy Rumiru. It's very good to see you again. Also, hello, Ivion. Very good to see you as well. Good to see Jay here. I'm a trans femme. Well, it's good to have you here, community educated. We have a lot of trans people in this community, Fit check. I mean, I'm literally just wearing my pajamas. Yeah, no, I was a demon child, okay? Look, I've been mentally ill. I've been a mentally ill freak my whole life, alright? But yeah, dude, I'm literally just wearing pajamas. There's really nothing to show off here. It's just my pajamas that I wear to sleep. I just put these things on, these bad boys on, and now I am all comfy, and yeah. I just got my first tattoo today. Well, congratulations. Literally everyone in the stream is either homophobic hater or LGBTQ. Actually, well, that's not entirely true. We got some straight people that watch me. There's some straight cis people that watch my content. You know, I'd say I have like a disproportionately queer audience because that's something that, you know, queer people can relate to me on. Especially if you're trans, right? I specifically talk about trans related topics a lot, right? Which is something that, you know, if you're trans, you're more likely to be interested in. But, bro, my hair is terrible. Yo, thank you, Dean Erie, for the 5 gifted memberships. Very much appreciated. God damn, thank you very much. Very generous. Ew, non-queers. So true. Dude, man. You know, I used to, in high school, I figured out, like, I was bisexual, like, my freshman year of high school. Maybe a little bit before. Was it? I think I was, yeah. It was as a freshman, I think. You know, back then I was, like, a pick-me. You know, I was like, oh, well, I'm technically bisexual, but, you know, I'm not a part of the LGBT community. You know, I'm one of the good ones, all right? I'm not one of the people that makes it their whole personality. You know, little did I know that's, like, actually not what people do. But people might be open about it, they might be vocal, but, doesn't mean that it's your whole personality. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, something can be important, like an important attribute that you care about, right? In terms of, I don't know, advocating for your own rights. Or maybe you point it out in order to, I don't know, relate to other people that have a similar experience, you know? But, yeah, little old me, little old fucker had some shit takes back in the day, you know? We all did, to be fair. You know, I used to think that trans people weren't even real. One of the good ones was way too relatable for every self-hating, queer middle schooler. Yeah, pretty much. Well, in middle school, I didn't even want to consider the possibility that I was any type of queer identity because, you know, I was even further back in the closet. So I wasn't going to be experimenting with any of that shit. You still have some shit takes? No. Nope. Not a single one. All of my takes are factually correct. I have 0 bad takes now. All of the takes that I have in the Big 25 are factually correct. And, yeah. Because I'm, like, basically the ultimate arbiter of truth now. Damn, dude, you're cute AF. Well, thank you. I'm so lesbian lol type shit. I'm not gonna lie, people be going a little overboard like I'm gay, but sometimes people be overly doing it. Yeah, but that's not on the basis of being gay, right? That has more to do with people that are performative in general. Straight people do it all the time. Have you ever encountered, I don't know, the stereotypical dude bro cares way too much about his masculinity, constantly talking about how he wants to fuck women, etc.? You know, the type of dude where it's like, man, I think he might be compensating for something. You know? Like, I would argue that that's like, I don't know. It's a level of performativity. But you wouldn't go up to them and tell them, like, hey, what are you doing? Why do you make being straight your whole personality? Because I think there's more to it than that. It's not that being straight is their whole personality. It's more along the lines of they feel need to performatively emphasize that characteristic for whatever reason, right? I'm sure 90% of right-wingers are closeted. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Green looks good on you. Thank you. Oh, man. My hair is a mess today. Wow. To be fair, I just got out of the shower, so, like, part of it is wet, because, like, you gotta let your hair be. You gotta let your hair be. And not wash it every day or whatever. You gotta give your hair a break. But yeah, because when you wash your face, though, it's like the part closest to your forehead gets, like, a little bit wet. But yeah, that bothers me. Oh well. think it's like, ah. Anyways, are you done dating foreigners? What does that even mean? Done dating foreigners? Oh, sorry. What does that even mean? I'm so confused. Why is that directed at me? I don't think I've ever dated a foreigner now that I think of it. Though I wouldn't be opposed. The assumption that most right-wingers are closeted is why you'll never understand and why you will never be accepted. Yeah, because that was like a really serious position that was expressed. That's like one that me and everyone in my audience definitely holds. You know, we all really believe that 99% of right-wingers are actually closeted gay people. That's very true. It's like a real belief. Oh, brush your hair from the bottom of the top to prevent breakage. So like this. Am I doing it right? I don't know. Sometimes I think I've seen that before, but I don't know. I gotta make sure I do that. But yeah. Anyways. Femyoz, fancy seeing ya, gangsta. I'm Josh Bruin, new profile. Hello. Hello. Hope you're doing well, Josh. Hi, Femyoz. What you wearing? It looks cute. My pajamas, actually. Yes, I'm wearing my pajamas because, you know, I'm not going to be streaming for that long. And, am I going to be going to bed after stream? No, you better believe I don't have a sleep schedule that allows me to fall asleep at normal times. But, you know. I came out in 1997. I was 17. I fought and marched and protest for equality for many years. The life we have now wasn't easy to accomplish. Yeah, it absolutely takes work. But for whatever reason, people think that doing nothing and maintaining the status quo is magically going to fix all of the issues in the world. It's like, no. The reason that society is a better place today than it was, say, for instance, 30 years ago, is because people actually did stuff. Because people didn't accept the status quo. Because people actually went out of their way to do things that were considered radical at the time. Right? There's no reason that logic doesn't apply today. It absolutely does. It still applies today. And we still should do things that are, I don't know, in accordance with real values that matter. Like, I don't know, utilitarian ethics, something like that. Anyways. Hi, Femi. Hope you're doing well. It's very good to see you, Jaden. Very good to see you. Do you like my new PFP? It's too small on my screen for me to see. I'm very sorry. But it's probably good. I'll bet. But I can't see. It looks colorful, I think. Here, you know what? I'll go to your channel, all right? I'll review your PFP. All right? So as you can see, it's actually a paperclip. Very nice, very nice. Or the paperclip is blushing for some reason. So, yeah. Yes. Yes, I agree with the take. Don't come out to homophobic parents. Bad idea. Don't do it. Anyways. My best friend is trans, and they're the sweetest person I've ever met. Hell yeah. Yeah, some of the nicest people you'll ever meet are trans or some flavor of queer or furries or, you know, whatever characteristics are generally deemed as less socially acceptable, right? I don't know. Just food for thought, I guess. I like your hair. Thank you. Put a finger down if you've been jumped for being yourself. Thankfully, I've never had that. But you're very cute. Thank you. The green works so well on you. Well, thank you, and that's good to know. It's very good to know because this is literally just like a pajama thingy, you know? Once I went to a frat party and the dudes were douchebags, so I recently rubbed their toothbrushes on my nutsack. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Trans suicide rates are higher than any other demographic. Yeah, so obviously we're going to want to look at what causes the suicide rate to be high, right? And as well as the fact that, like, okay, what are ways in which we can reduce it? And the scientific consensus on the matter, according to all of the peer-reviewed literature, it's basically that when trans people are affirmed in their identities, their mental health problems start to diminish, right? They start being happier, right? Their rate of having things like depression and anxiety go down, right? Because those can be caused by dysphoria, right? And when you mitigate dysphoria, right? When you actually treat dysphoria through transitioning, socially and medically, it actually makes it easier for a trans person to live their life and not be miserable, right? It mitigates the amount of depression that you would have as a trans person. It might entirely eliminate it, right? That might be the only source of the depression for some trans people, right? Not to say that all trans people are like depressed or anything like that, but yes, we do have a disproportionately bad suicide rate. So rather than just saying that, I mean, maybe look at what the solutions are, right? Just look at what the scientific literature says on the matter, right? Because when there's something like a high suicide rate for a certain population, right? The first thing you'd want to do, if that's something that concerns you, is look to see if there's any studies that have been done on it, right? See if you can find out a scientific reason for why. Rather than just like trying to use it as some sort of own against the trans community or some shit. I'm getting a binder for my birthday. I'm super excited. Well, congratulations and happy birthday in advance. Yup, they are all Kurt Cobain. It's very true. All trans people are Kurt Cobain, as the prophet Lily Tino has proclaimed. We don't need to prove anything, just enjoy life. Yeah, which is a sentiment I appreciate. And I agree with that. I agree that we don't need to prove anything. I'm personally somebody that enjoys, talking about politics or, issues I care about or contentious topics that other people don't want to talk about. That's something that I prefer doing in many cases. Not always, right? Because that's something I want to get completely locked into. What do you think about minors transitioning? Yeah, so I would just go with what the medical consensus is on the matter, right? So it's going to be the case that if the kid has some sort of persistent gender dysphoria, right? And they get diagnosed with gender dysphoria by a doctor, and the kid wants to transition, the parents' consent and the doctor's consent, then yeah, I don't see what the issue is, right? There doesn't seem to be any problem with that. Now, granted, that's going to be for even just puberty blockers, right? That's going to be puberty blockers, by the time, when they hit, whenever it is that they hit puberty, right? And puberty blockers are reversible. So that's not even hormone replacement therapy. So there's nothing irreversible there, right? That's literally just going to be puberty blockers. And that's under that specific set of circumstances. So that's sort of how the system operates, right? That's sort of just the way things are in blue states, at least. I'm not sure. In red states, you're fucked, essentially. But now, whether or not it should be that gate kept, I would just leave that to medical professionals to decide, not lawmakers, right? I don't think that lawmakers should be the ones deciding, who does or doesn't need specific medical care. because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, right? I don't want politicians to decide whether or not I can get medicine. I think that that's absurd. And I think it's ridiculous that we would give the people in positions of power even more power by saying, yeah, you get to decide whether or not we get a specific medication. Right? I think it's a bit absurd. But a lot of people don't really care about freedom. Or if they do, they don't actually understand what freedom is. Oof, you were right about Trump. Hey, it's never too late to change your position and agree with me. But yes, I was right about Trump. So, yeah, for anyone that saw my coverage of Trump, which I did quite extensively for a little bit, you might have realized that all of the things that I was saying about him were not only true back then, but they're even more true now. And all of the predictions that I made turned out to be true, for the most part. Puberty blockers are a tough subject. No, not really. It's quite easy. You just look at what the medical literature says on the matter, right? Just like read some studies, read some meta-analyses, right? And come to conclusions that way. It doesn't have to be this whole retarded political discourse. It doesn't have to be this team politics nonsense of right versus left. You just fucking use your head and actually look at what the scientific consensus is, right? Also, thank you, Infinite Onion, for the $4.99, saying we meet again. Can you explain the difference between gender dysphoria and the discomfort that comes with most puberty? Yeah, so gender dysphoria specifically comes from an incongruence between the sex and gender that you were, the gender that you were assigned at birth on the basis of your sex, right? It's going to be an incongruence between that and your actual gender as a trans person, right? So, for example, if I am somebody that, which I am, right? I'm somebody that was born as a male, okay? Biologically male. And, so I was assigned male at birth. And let's just say that as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a girl, right, rather than a guy, right? So there was an incongruence from a very young age for me, right? And as a result of that incongruence, right, what happens in many cases, including mine, is you get what ends up being gender dysphoria. Right? So, discomfort that comes with puberty is just going to be, I'm uncomfortable with changes in general. Like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of a level of uncertainty, right? That seems to be how it's described for most people, okay? Whereas with gender dysphoria, it's not just that you're uncomfortable with the changes you're getting. It's that the changes you're getting are the opposite of the changes that you actually want to be getting, right? So if, say, for instance, you're a trans woman, you're a trans girl or whatever, right? When your voice starts deepening and, you start growing facial hair, right? And looking more masculine, right? That's going to cause dysphoria on the basis of you wanting other characteristics as well, right? And specifically not wanting those characteristics, right? Not wanting to be a man when you're older, wanting to be a woman when you're older, right? Like instead, I would have been way happier had I gone through the changes that are generally experienced through female puberty. Also, thank you, Shamo the Harpy for the 2, saying, nice to see you again. Here's some love. Thank you very much appreciated. But yeah. How does intercourse work for you? I don't know why, but a lot of people's minds go there. And what can I say? Most people feel the uncertainty at puberty. Yeah. But again, there's going to be a huge difference between uncertainty, right? Like, ooh, I don't know about that. Maybe you're uncomfortable with some of the changes versus These are the wrong changes. I should be experiencing the opposite set of changes, right? I should be experiencing changes where they would be generally expected of the opposite sex, right? Like, if there was a magical button I could push, right, to be a girl, I would press it, right? That's not generally something that cis guys think, right? Like, even if a condition for that is, once you press it, there's no going back, right? I would have pressed it without hesitation for, like, all of my life, basically. Also, thank you, Calattack, for the 10 Canadian, you beautiful fucking bastard, saying, people don't know that sociology and expression of identity are actual things in science, while also calling for basic biology. Guys, advanced biology called you. You need to catch up. It's not only biology now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, what about basic biology? Advanced biology. Allow me to introduce myself. Also, thank you, that little floofing goober, for the 5, saying, my PC keeps blue screening despite me being nice to it. Should I off myself for being a bad mother? No, don't do that. Don't do that. But thank you for the 5. All right. Do the bro voice.
You mean this one? Hey, yo, what's good, gang? I hope you're all doing well.
Hey, thank you, Bucket Singleton, for the 5, saying, you've made a college bound and also estrogen boysed T-girl very confident and less afraid to be myself. Thank you so much for being awesome. Oh, wow, that's actually really wholesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, keep slaying. Also, thank you, Prince of Enchiladas, for the 2, saying, trans girls are best girls. Also, is Mayo real? No, Mayo is a figment of your imagination. It doesn't exist in reality.
Doing only a man voice, I mean, that's, like, a lot of effort, because, like, this requires effort.
And, yeah. This requires not as much effort. So, yeah. It's like, once you've been voice training long enough, right? Whatever voice that you normally use is going to be the one that requires less effort. That's true. Vocal range equals male only. Only men can have a big vocal range. Okay? It doesn't work in both directions, of course. Impossible. I've always wished I was born a woman, but I don't know if I really want to transition. Yeah, and that's fair. And that's ultimately your decision to make. Because, like, that was something that I was thinking about. Like, you know, I've always secretly wished that I was a girl or whatever. But, you know, if I were to transition, I would look terrible, and, you know, it would ruin my life maybe, because, like, it's a lot harder to be a trans person than a cis person. And then I realized that, you know, masculinizing any further for male puberty was gonna ruin my life. So I decided, instead of allowing that to increase my dysphoria, you know, I would go in the opposite direction. How tall are you? I'm 5'6". What's your take on public restrooms? Look, I'm gonna be real. I think people should be able to use whatever restrooms that they want. I don't give a fuck. Just go wherever you want, right? Now, in terms of what I would recommend doing, I would just say, if there's, you know, no gender neutral option, just do whatever one that you look like more, I guess, for your safety. Though it does depend on, like, where you live and whether or not. Because, like, I mean, if you live in, like, a place where it's, like, accepting of trans people, then, like, fair. But, it really depends. Really depends. 5'6", perfect bullying height? No, I'm not. I am not perfect bullying height. I am very tall and strong. I'll have you find. Okay. Male or female, that's it. Well, I guess intersex people don't exist anymore. That's crazy. Dude, it's like all, dude, I'd like to imagine it's just like, you say that and just like all intersex people, you know, like 1% of the human population just starts fading out of existence. They're like, fuck no, I'm not real. That forehead is magical. Wow, incredible Riz. Great stuff. Great stuff. The percentage of people that detransition is below 1%. Yeah, and people that detransition due to regretting their transition specifically, because they're like not actually trans or whatever, is like, I want to say it's a percent, it's like a small percentage of that, right? Most people that detransition do so because either their family doesn't accept them, or, you know, HRT costs too much, or whatever it may be. Also, thank you, Zach Michaelia, for the 5, saying, how did you get your voice to sound so good? So I started out by watching a channel called Trans Voice Lessons, right? I watched some videos for beginners. I started out by practicing in my car, right? Then, after a little bit, I joined some trans femme voice training servers, and I would spend hours every night, you know, staying up way too late, like I do anyways, voice training. And yeah, I let's just say that yeah, I did that for like a few months, and then I got to a point where I understood enough to slowly feminize my quote-unquote guy voice. So I had like a guy voice, which was like my normal voice, quote-unquote, at the time, and then I had my girl voice, okay? So that's what I had. But I understood that in order for it to be sustainable, because I didn't want to have to think about it when live streaming, right? I want to be able to live stream and have the same intonation that I always do, and think more about the more comedic / entertainment-oriented aspects of my content. And so, instead of, you know, just using my girl voice more often, what I did is I slowly feminized my normal voice, or my guy voice, right? So every week I would do one thing, or a few things, to make my voice slightly more feminine, my guy voice. And eventually my guy voice became androgynous, and then eventually my guy voice became, well, what it is today. So this I guess is my guy voice that slowly changed over time into my girl voice. And now my guy voice is something that requires effort. So, yeah. You're pretty cool. Finally a good role model for trannies. Hell yeah. I'm the best role model for trannies, okay? They're the best that there is. Alright? 3, that's a good age to make a life-altering decision. That's true, because, like, there's so many people advocating for 3-year-olds to get bottom surgery. That's so true. That's like, it's like happening everywhere. Like, how do you even transition at 3? Like, make it make sense. Oh, do you mean socially transition? Oh, they grew their hair out and used a different name. Who gives a fuck? You're crying over nothing. Oh no. Oh no, Billy changed their name to Susie and grew their hair out. Boo fucking who? Who cares? Yeah, the life-altering decision of growing your hair out. That's so true. Anyways. Apparently I was 3 when I transitioned. I didn't know that. That's news to me. I thought I started transitioning at 19. I'm 21 now. You know, I would think that I would have a solid understanding of my own transition, but, you know, I was 3 years old and they gave me bottom surgery because I asked for it. I said, Mommy, Daddy, can you please take me to the surgeon to chop my penis off? And then they did that. You know, that's like it's a real thing that definitely happened. How did you do so much HRT progress in only 2 years? That's insane. Well, thank you. And I guess I just have the twink gene. You know, I was a twink before transitioning, so that aspect makes it a little bit easier. But I don't know. I guess I just got lucky. You know, I started at 19, so I should have. I regret not starting at 18. I should have started the day that I turned 18. Right? I doubt my parents would have let me do it when I was a minor, though. But to be fair, I had never told anybody. Like I refused to tell anybody that I secretly wanted to be a girl. Okay, I was taking that shit to the grave because I thought that there was like, you know, I thought well, there's nothing you can do to fix that, and you know, it's just if you just suppress it, it'll go away. And You know, I'm not really trans, you know? I don't have enough dysphoria to be trans, you know? I don't think I have dysphoria, and it's like I had obvious dysphoria, but I was just not categorizing it as that. You passed so well. Well, thank you. You plan on adopting kids? Probably not. If I were to have kids, then yeah, I would adopt because I am not fertile, okay? Uh, but yeah. Anyways, new here, screw the haters, you're hella cute. Just keep being your best you. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Lol, chill crossdresser stream. You know, that doesn't even make any sense. Because, like, I'm wearing pajama clothes. These are like pajama clothes that, like, you can wear this regardless of gender. Actually. Well, I mean, you can wear any clothes regardless of gender, but, like, these aren't specifically, like, male or female or whatever. No, these are just, like, you wear these because you're eepy sleepy and want to feel cozy. So, yeah. I don't know. Like, what would the opposite of unisex be? Like, what's like would I be both extremes, like both ends of the bimodal distribution or whatever? As a femboy, that's not cross-dressing. Yeah, like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, what a weird thing to say. Like, you say, out of all the streams that I do, you know, all the streams, most of which I'm actually wearing things that are like, I don't know, women's clothing. And instead you choose to say that on the one stream where I'm not explicitly wearing women's clothing. I respect you as a person, but what's more important, pretending to be something. Okay, wait. Pretending to be something. What do you mean by that? Or appreciate / understand / love who you are? Well, that's what I'm doing. I feel like this is forgotten when this topic comes up. No, it's really not. No, I appreciate and understand who I am when I, you know, came out as trans. Like, that was me understanding who I am. You know, when I was suppressing that, I wasn't not understanding who I was. The first step was, you know, like the whole femboy arc where it's like, oh, well, maybe I'm just more feminine. You know, yeah, that possibility crossed my mind. Maybe that would fix it. But no, that was not enough. Right? It still wasn't allowing me to be me. At least you are considered an adult who made your decision. Good luck to you. Yeah, but I think that people should have the opportunity to, you know, transition sooner so that they're not forced to go through the wrong puberty like I was. Hey, keep in mind, I got lucky, okay? I ended up being 5'6". You know, I could have had worse genetics in terms of, you know, what would or wouldn't allow me to transition, okay? And, you know, in an alternate universe, I could have ended up being like a 6'4" linebacker. You know? It's like, well, I don't think that a trans woman should have to, you know, experience that. You know what I mean? Like, again, I got lucky. I never grew that much facial hair. Would you say the state of dysphoria feels like pretending? Yeah, when I'm like at my most dysphoric or whatever, or I guess when I was at my most dysphoric, I'm not anymore. I didn't even realize it was dysphoria until after the fact. But like, it almost feels like your body is this disconnected vehicle through which you output actions. Like, it's not your body. Does that make sense? Anyways. Want to grow your hair out? Oh, want to grow hair out again in winter. I will never understand why particularly men get haircuts during the summertime. Like hello, doesn't the way that you look supersede, like, oh no, my hair is slightly longer, so that means that it's slightly less, or sorry, yeah, the weather feels slightly less nice, kind of. I don't really understand that. Like, why not just keep growing out your hair instead of getting hair that's way too short? And I don't know. That's my take. A lot of cis men get hair that's way the fuck too short. It doesn't look good. You know, it's like you got to grow that shit out. I always cut it in the summer for comfort reason. Hair gets hot. I don't get it. Like women don't cut their hair in the summer like that. We consistently have longer hair year round. Except for like unless you're like a little bit more mask presenting, or I mean, there are gonna be some women that have shorter hair, but generally, you know. Guess what? I don't give a fuck because it looks better than if I were to get a shitty buzz cut or something. It would look awful. Like, yeah, it's hot outside. Are you 21? Yes. How did you know? It's because I said it. As a guy who cuts my hair like that, is because I like trying new things and I also enjoy growing it back out. Yeah, fair. Man, I always hated haircuts, but I was like, well, other people say that they look good, so I guess in order to look good for other people, I guess I will get the haircut. But also, I feel like I look better before. But also, yeah, that was always me. Girls could do a pixie cut for the summer. Yeah, but who does that? Also, you gotta keep in mind that if you have hair that's as long as mine, right? That takes a long time to grow out. It's not you can go from your hair being fucking this long to this long over the course of a season, right? If you get it cut here, it's gonna take a year or two to get it back down here. You know. Long hair is also just so much more work. Yeah. I think that men are just lazy with their hair. All right? Y'all motherfuckers use 3-in-1 shampoo, which should be a crime against humanity. All right? Genuinely disgusting, vile behavior, using 3-in-1 shampoo. Unbelievable. I can't believe you would do that. 7-in-1? Well, okay. That, I know that that's rage bait, but, that's gotta be probably one of the worst things ever. I just use please tell me that's a joke. 15-in-1 shampoo. Yeah, that's not a thing. There's no 13-in-1 shampoo. All right? There's no 30-in-1, there's no 100-in-1, okay? I don't know what the most would be. Maybe I don't know. It would be 3-in-1. That'd be the most, right? Just shampoo and toothpaste? Oh god. Okay, so it would be okay, what's the most that we could do? Okay, so shampoo, conditioner, body wash. Okay, that gets you 3. Toothpaste would be 4. Shaving cream would be 5. I wash my hair with Republican Tears. Republican Tears would be 6. 4-in-1 includes shaving cream. Yeah, but that's just not efficient. Do you realize how inefficient that is? Why would anybody willingly buy that shit? Okay? Every time you use 4-in-1 shampoo, all right? You're wasting 3/4 of it. Essentially. Well, no, you'd be wasting half of it, I guess. Because I guess if you're look, I think that 2-in-1 shampoo is also kind of disgusting, but maybe if you're on a time crunch and you don't give a fuck about your hair and you're okay with it looking like shit, then fine, whatever. But if you're using 4-in-1 shampoo in your hair, guess what? You're not using it as shaving cream or as body wash. So that is a bunch of body wash and shaving cream being wasted. Okay? when you use it as shaving cream. You are wasting shampoo, conditioner, and body wash, right? You're wasting 3/4 of it. Same thing for when you use it as body wash. You're wasting 3/4 of it. Genuinely, one of the most disgusting inventions imaginable, one of the least efficient uses of money there could possibly be. Nobody really uses that shit. Why do they make it? Why do they make it? I feel like it should be illegal to make it. All right? The government needs to crack down on these evil corporations creating 4-in-1 shampoo for no reason. It's a crime against humanity. It's just for boomers that are bald. But then they don't need shampoo. Also, why wouldn't they just get like maybe 3-in-1? Like if they have like a few, like they have 3 hairs left. Fine, whatever. If they really want to do that. Like, but 4-in-1, why? Shopping hard, 4-in-1 easy? No, I mean mostly bald. Yeah, I kind of figured. That's why I'm like, okay, I guess. But like, why not just buy them separately anyway? Like, why not just like use shampoo and conditioner for whatever's left? Okay? And then, fuck, even use 2-in-1 if you want at that point. If you're fucking bald, if you're balding, who gives a fuck? All right? Your hair's gonna look like shit no matter what. All right? But aside from that, like, you should not be putting shaving cream all over your bald spot, all right? Unless you're shaving there. If you do, you can just get the shaving cream. First time I saw a 3-in-1, I thought, wow, a 0-in-1? Yeah. Trump's head? Yeah. I use shampoo, then moisturize my bald head after if it's dried out. Yeah. Look, I've never been bald. I never will be, hopefully. I don't know. I'd have to get like alopecia or some shit for that to happen, or like cancer for that to happen, but yeah. For someone that doesn't want to be judged, you sure do love judging people. Like, you're acting like this is like such a huge, important thing that people are being judged for. Like, it's like an intrinsic personality trait. Like, this is some sort of, scathing criticism against people that's gonna, harm their lives forever if they, heaven forbid, had to, like, let's say that I was, let's say I'm being completely serious. Actually, yeah, we're gonna make 4-in-1 shampoo illegal. Oh, dude, I'm sure that so many people are gonna be devastated. That's gonna be life-ruining shit for the people that use that, I'm sure. No, like actual snowflake shit. Who are you to judge how badly your judgments hurt others? Yeah, so I just have like sort of an intuition for that. So like if I say that 4-in-1 shampoo is a crime against humanity, which is true, by the way, right? I'm not attacking a fundamental characteristic of somebody, all right? If a fundamental part of somebody as a person is that they use 4-in-1 shampoo, all right? I feel like at that point you should be institutionalized, all right? At that point, you're just like so mentally ill that you need to be in a psych ward, all right? Bring back the psych ward. You know what? I think we should bring back the psych ward just for people that use 4-in-1 shampoo anyway. That's just like even more reason. If someone is getting offended over my scathing review of how 4-in-1 shampoo is bad, all right? Now be careful. Titan is just very passionate about using their 15-in-1 shampoo. It's very true. Very true. Does it have to be a huge issue? Well, I'm explicitly saying it's not. You seem to think it is. You think it's like a very important issue. How dare you make fun of 4-in-1 shampoo? Dude, if you're trans and you don't want people to misgender you, that means you're not allowed to make jokes about anything anymore. You're not allowed to make fun of anything ever again. All right? You want to be treated with basic human dignity? How dare you make fun of 4-in-1 shampoo or pineapple on pizza? Disgusting, hypocritical behavior. The offense comes from suggesting they take showers at all. True. You know, I'm disregarding the progress they've made in terms of their, you know. Yo, thank you, Anon, for the one saying, no hate, by the way, your natural hormone / brain chem shaped the quote-unquote you who feels dysphoria. HRT changes these hormones / brain chems, and it may even change the very thoughts / feelings that led to your dysphoria in the first place. Something to think about. Well, yeah, obviously it's going to be the case that in terms of all of our thoughts, that's mainly just going to be, you know, chemical reactions that occur within our brains, right? That's what all of it amounts to. And yes, it's going to be influenced by things like your hormones, right? However, it's also going to be the case that that the only way to maximize happiness for a trans person seems to be transitioning socially and sometimes medically, right? Now, as for changing the very thoughts / feelings that quote unquote led to dysphoria in the first place, right? I guess you could say that the feelings of dysphoria go away, you know, as you transition, if that's what you mean. Also, thank you, Kalatuk, for the 2 Canadians saying, I go eat now. Good night, smart girl. Thank you. Very much appreciated. But, and yeah, obviously those chemical reactions or whatever are going to be different, right? But I mean, that's what we all are, right? Like, I don't believe that there's like a, like in terms of like the physical reality of the matter. Like, I don't think that there's like a such thing as like a, I don't think that there's like any, I don't think that there's anything that makes one person that, you know, the same person over time, right? I don't think that there's like one thing you could point to that that allows you to identify. What's a good way of putting it? Like what is the necessary conditions or sufficient conditions to be the same person over your lifespan, right? You know, from the day that you were born to the day that you die. What are the necessary conditions for that to be the same person? Yo, thank you, Super, for the one saying, what's your favorite FNAF? I never played it, so I have no idea. But thank you for the one. But yeah, anyways. Imagine having just gender dysphoria about being male, then you take estrogen that causes you to feel dysphoria about feeling female. The grass is greener on the other side, odd gender. Yeah, I don't really think that there are many, if any, instances of that happening. The only case of that happening that I could think of, or the possible case, I guess theoretical case, is if somebody is like, has like a non-binary identity or desire to, you know, look androgynous, and then they go from one extreme that's too far to the other extreme that's too far, right? Whereas they just want to be somewhere in the middle, right? That's possible. Also, welcome to Supporter Gang, Paradox Freck. Very much appreciated. What should we do if we're in a volatile place for trans people, in your opinion? Yeah, just be careful with who you come out to and move the fuck out of there as quickly as humanly possible. That's my advice. Genderist, centrist of gender. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah. Anyways. Sorry, where was I going? But yeah, I think I was talking about some like a philosophical idea, right? There's not one thing that I could point to as like a necessary or sufficient condition or set of conditions that that allow me to determine whether or not somebody is the like what it means to be a person. Like what does it mean to be the same person over time, right? Like I'm actually gonna ask this as like a question, like what makes me the same person today that I was, I don't know, 10 years ago? Also, thank you, Batao Crafter, for the $25. You beautiful fucking bastard saying hi, Femi. Hello, it's very good to see you again. Thank you very much. Very generous. But yeah, like something that a lot of people would intuitively point to is, oh, well, you're like physically the same person, right? Like physically, it's the same entity over an extended period of time. Well, that's not true, and we know that that can't be true because I think it's every 7 years. I want to say it takes 7 years for all of the cells in your body to be replaced with new cells, essentially. Roughly 7 years. So that can't be the standard. I'd consider it having the same personality. I guess by that standard, then me versus me from 10 years ago. You know, you might consider my personality back then to be very different. I might have a completely different personality. So I might not be the same person. And I guess in like a more metaphorical sense, that's true, right? You might be like, I'm not the same person that I used to be in that kind of context. But if I am talking about what it means to literally be the same person, I mean, what does that mean, right? People's personalities change too. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it could be personality. Hair looks cute today. Thank you. I'm a centrist leaning conservative, but I want to live in a world where everyone is happy in their own skin, no matter your beliefs, identity, or orientation. It's crazy how this is considered radical. Yeah, the radical far left position of I want people to be happy and have human rights and not have to suffer from gender dysphoria. You know? It's like, yeah, we live in a strange society. A lot of people completely disregard someone when they come out. I would like to use that gal from Mr. Beast as an example, but she might not be the greatest role model. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, because she ended up being a terrible person. Yeah. Yeah, no, Chris Tyson. Yeah, fuck that person. I used to be transphobic / homophobic, but now I'm the biggest trans fag you will ever meet. Crazy how things change. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, we live in a society. I would hope no one is the same person that they were 10 years ago. It doesn't allow for any personal growth. Yeah. Look, I'm somebody that believes that there's no such thing as something that makes you the same person beyond just like a social fiction, right? The same way that you know, if I were to say, you know, I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago, right? That's like a made up, socially defined sentence, essentially. Like that's like a socially defined idea. And this applies to me saying that I'm the same person that I was yesterday, right? Or I'm the same person that I was 5 seconds ago, right? Again, that's literally just a social fiction. There's no aspect of identity that exists independent of that. There's no personhood outside of that, right? It's all made up. We made it up. I'm a neko, but not a furry. Yo, me too. Republicans have been a cult for decades. They just got more blatant in 2016. Absolutely. Like now they say the quiet part out loud. So politically, I'm a centrist. I agree with a lot of conservatives. Canada, first economic policies. Yeah, I guess if you're like a centrist in Canada, that would probably be considered more like center left in the US, most likely. But yeah, I used to be homophobic. I still am, but now I hate myself. Yo, let's go. Anti-furries turning into furries be like, yeah, I'm actually surprised I didn't turn into one. You know? Because I used to be an anti-furry. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this is too reasonable for a conservative. It's like, oh, you're from Canada. Okay. Well, that explains a little bit more. All right. This is too reasonable to be a conservative from America. Yo, are we being racist against battle droids in chat? That's fucked up. Yeah, identity isn't real. The ship of Theseus is the same ship because he still owns it. I don't think it matters whether or not somebody owns it. Right? Like if I sell the ship to somebody else, right, without making any modifications, it would still be considered the same ship. So that's not going to be the criteria that makes it the same ship, right? But the way we categorize it as the same ship, even if we replace one part, is just like a vague idea we have of what it means to be the same as something else, right? Because in reality, it's not exactly the same. Even if you don't make any modifications, you know, some of the molecules are going to be different, right? But you're not going to notice it, right? And for all intents and purposes, it's the same fucking thing, right? Because we don't define it on the basis of, you know, whether or not it is, meets a certain percentage of the same. It's literally just vibes, just based on what's useful. Nah, them clankers gotta go. Damn. Yeah, the US system is fucked. There's only left, right, or un-American. Now, the US system is there's center right and far right / un-American. That's what the US system is. You got the center right, where it's very very pro-corporate, you know? And then you got the far right that's also pro-corporate, and also they hate trans people and immigrants. And they're even more far right. Yeah, there is no left in America. I mean, there are leftists in America. You know, there are individuals, maybe even some politicians that are leftist. Not very many politicians, by the way, that are leftist, but I digress. But in terms of actual like political parties and shit that happens, like no, there's yeah, release the list. I agree. Be clear, I'm a musician and I hate clankers. A true American hates everyone that's not them. True. Very true. Yo, there is a left. What do you mean? I'm sorry, but the Democratic Party is centrist / center right. It's I guess it depends on what you mean by right wing, but like if you're literally just like referring to like American politics, then like sure. Also, thank you, the man Big Beef, for the 5 saying thoughts on pro wrestling. I don't have any thoughts. Head empty. I don't know shit about it, but thank you for the 5. But I mean, fundamentally, right-wing belief is going to be something that's rooted in the idea that we shouldn't progress, that instead we should conserve something, maintain the status quo. That's something that the Democratic Party does. That's what they advocate for, is maintaining the status quo, right? Far-right individuals are going to be reactionaries that aim to reverse progress, right, and go backwards. Right, so that would be the far-right party. It's the one that wants to go backwards rather than remain stagnant. There isn't a single pro-life congressional Democrat. Yeah, and? But that doesn't make them leftist. Being pro-life doesn't make you a leftist. Being pro-choice doesn't make you a leftist. Dems are not just centrists. When I say centrists, I don't mean they're centrists on every individual issue, right? I'm speaking in a more broad sense, right? If you want to say that they are left of the Republicans, right? Then yeah, that's true, I guess. And then maybe you define centrism as whatever is in the middle of that, right? But when I think about what it means for something to be right-wing, fundamentally, at its core, it's literally just going to be anti-progress, right? And based on the economic policies, the Democratic Party, considering how complacent they are and how their goal seems to be to just maintain the status quo, what can I say? That is not a leftist party at all. Look, there's a reason I make the distinction between liberalism versus leftism. Liberalism might point you in the right direction, but it doesn't get you where you need to be. You can be conservative and pro-choice. That's true. I wouldn't say that the Democrats are conservatives entirely. Not in the sense that, not in the sense that we would use that word in like a more general sense. But they are conservative in that they are conserving, some of the systems that we should progress from or modify. Which is capitalism. You're going to disagree with that because you're a DGGer, but the right wing is now a liberal? Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that the what you consider to be right wing, I consider to be far right. Right? Because they're not just in favor of maintaining the status quo. They're not just conservative. They are reactionary. All of them. They're reactionary. They're anti-liberal. Right? They're anti-freedom. Yeah, I agree that the right wing is now far right. Yeah. I just don't like the notion that like being left wing is when the Democratic Party and being right wing is when the Republican Party. Because I don't think that's true. That just sounds like team sports politics, right? When I say that we have a center right and a far right party in this country, I'm speaking in a more abstract, theoretical sense. Right? I'm not using the terms right or left wing in the colloquial sense. Right? Centrists are their own thing. Well, I wouldn't say that because I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be like a political spectrum, right? It's not just like you have the three genders: right wing, left wing, and centrist. Centrists are like the intersex people of politics, I guess. All right, the three genders. It's biologically inscribed in your chromosomal makeup. A lot of centrist Republicans like to fence it. Well, yeah. And if we're using the terms right, left, and centrist in like a relative to society sense, like where is the Overton window at? Then yes. Then yes. Paradox, Frex, uh, categorization would be correct. Right? I'm not even saying it's incorrect. But the reason that I say center right and far right is because the Democratic Party has remained stagnant, hasn't progressed, and the Republican Party has just gotten crazier and more far right over time. Right? That's why I say that. I grew up being taught that LGBTQ is perfectly fine. When I was little, I was the flower girl for my gay uncle's wedding wall. I'm so happy that I was raised correctly, Lamau. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. No, you forgot we stole Easter this past year, so we're evil. That's true. I think we should, rather than having Trans Day of Visibility be on the same day, I think it should be on like the same Sunday as Easter every day. Right? Like every time we have Easter, it should be just Trans Day of Visibility. That's easier to remember, and so that conservatives get angry. We used to have quite a lot of pro-life Dems in Congress, no more. Yes. But also if we take a look at like how much they've changed relative to the Republicans, it's really not much. Man, politics is tiring. Just be good people to other, but I'm at help before I stress out. Yeah, no worries. Just, yeah. I do like talking about politics, though. The government in general is so messed up. Wow. What a brave take, Cryptid Cacti YT. The government is, in fact, bad. If only more people could share this sentiment, Okay, I'm being a little bit facetious, but yeah, the government do be bad. I don't want the Dems to change the way that MAGA Republicans have. Fuck that. Well, no, I'm not in favor of them changing the way that MAGA Republicans have. Right? But something you might notice is that they oftentimes cede ground to the right. Whether it be on trans issues, immigration, etc. Right? That's sort of difficult to be popular when, your campaign is, I intend on maintaining the status quo. I'm going to be like a lukewarm version of the person I'm running against. That's not a very good sell. You're not really selling anything. Now, with that being said, fuck, where was I going with that? I don't remember. Did I have ADHD? Look, I'm in favor of the Democratic Party changing insofar as that they, move to the left, especially on economic issues. I think that they're incredibly lacking when it comes to economic shit, right? Like in terms of economic policy, we're way the fuck behind, right? We live in a late stage capitalist shithole at this point, right? I don't know, I feel like that's a little uncharitable to Dems. I don't think it's uncharitable. I think it's just factually correct. Like, there are going to be some good Dems out there, right? Like, Zoran Mamdani, great example. Somebody brought them up in chat, right? I think even Hillary Clinton praised Trump's foreign policy law. Yeah. Sounds about right. I'm not even... I don't know if that's true, but that sounds like something she would do. Bernie Sanders is pretty good. Yeah. He's old, though, so he's not going to run, sadly. I hope Zoran Mamdani becomes president one day. Generally just promising to keep Trump from power. Yeah, but you can only do so much. You can only do so much. I wish Bernie would be president. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, like 5 days ago. Yeah. I don't think she would have done that in 2016. So, yeah, if anything, the Democratic Party moved to the right within the last 5, maybe 10 years. It's definitely not moved to the left. Definitely not within the last 5 years. The hard truth is that socialists just aren't popular. Well, yeah, you don't frame it as socialism. You frame it as capitalism plus. Okay, it's like capitalism but better. So, you're in favor of democracy, right? I would hope your answer is yes. It's not perfect. It's very flawed. There's still going to be corruption, people that take advantage of positions of power, etc. Nobody votes perfectly for the most part, except for the people that vote for the people that, I vote for, of course. But, that's besides the point. But either way, it's preferable to, I don't know, like an authoritarian regime. And this would extend to not just the federal level, right? But this would also apply to state and local governments. I don't see why this wouldn't apply at the corporate level. Corporations, much like local governments, right, hold a lot of power, right, over the consumers and the people that work for them. But what's the solution there? Well, I don't know, maybe democratize that shit. I do like democracy, and I'm very wary of socialism. You might like syndicalism or market socialism, which is basically what I'm getting at. Okay. So, rather than, I don't know, having shareholders that don't give a fuck about the well-being of consumers or workers, right? Deciding who gets to be the CEO, for instance, or rather than having those people in power, ultimately, deciding the direction that the company goes in, it would be much more preferable if, say, for instance, voting was determined by, I don't know, it doesn't have to be these percentages specifically, but 70% workers, 30% consumers, something like that. I'd be in favor of something along those lines, where you'd be able to, I don't know, elect your managers, CEOs, etc. And then guess what? If you're a worker, they're gonna have to keep your best interest in mind. Why? Because, well, they don't want to get voted out of office or voted out of their managerial position, right? I'm totally down for more worker protections, but I'm not down with workers seizing the means of production on a national scale. How do people start businesses then? Well, it's very simple. It's very simple, right? There's going to be protections for small businesses. I'm in favor of implementing the system mainly for, and I don't know what what we would use to determine like whether or not a corporation is large enough to meet like the certain threshold required. But I think that like if we were to say, for instance, allow small businesses to operate regularly, right? Don't put any restrictions on them, right? But at the same time, after a certain point, like after a corporation has X amount of workers or has X amount of income or X amount of net worth, their assets are this amount, whatever the fucky wucky equation you want to do for it to decide, this corporation is big and powerful enough. It's when you would want to transition it into sort of more of like a worker cooperative, right? Now, alternatively, maybe not alternatively, but this would be the actual policy that I'd be in favor of, right? Because I don't think that it would be easy to get there, right, from where we are right now. But something I am in favor of that is more realistic and, the the nearer future, kind of, uh, is subsidizing worker cooperatives, right? I'd be in favor of that. Like, heavily subsidizing worker cooperatives. This seems very illogical. Yeah. That should not be allowed anymore. Wait, what? That sounds like what unions are for? No, because if we actually look at what, like how much unions actually have in terms of their power, it's not actually very much, right? Because it's actually not the people that unionize that hold positions of power, right? If they did, let's just say Amazon would have much better working conditions and much better pay, right? But they don't. There's a reason for that. Well, there's many reasons for it, right? That's going to be one of them. Ultimately, what it stems from is I don't want decisions to be made exclusively from the top down, right? And that's what they currently are. So they're exclusively made from the top down, from the people that are in positions of power because they have wealth. Obviously, money equals power in this country. And I think that there need to be mechanisms in place to counterbalance that. Some businesses should be a massive co-op between the employees. Well, yeah, I think that once your business is, large enough. Again, I'm not sure how you would measure that. You'd probably want to have like it'd be easy for me to be like, oh, like after it gets like, I don't know, say for instance, like 30 workers or whatever the fuck, right? That's like very simple. What I would rather it be is I'd rather it be determined by accountants, auditors, shit like that, right? Right? Maybe some sort of audit gets done to determine like, okay, here's what your assets look like, right? And based on certain criteria, they determine whether or not the corporation / company or whatever ought to or is required to become is collectively owned or whatever. Right? The main reason is capitalism. Yeah. A lot of our issues in the US right now are due to the Reagan administration. Oh, absolutely. AOC will never win. That's true. I unironically agree with that because, like, I mean, she's a woman. That doesn't help. And the people just don't take her seriously yet. It's unfortunate. But health insurance should especially be made of co-ops. You won't rip yourself off. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Maybe it could work, but it's never been demonstrated to work, IMO. Well, I don't see a reason not to try it. Right? It's not like we're going to go from the current system to that overnight. Right? But if we slowly go there, right? We'd want to keep going. And then, like, if let's say we see, oh, there's like a causal link between, you know, these policies and, oh, shit's actually like getting worse. It's actually causing harm. And like, okay, maybe then it's like, oh shit, maybe we were wrong, right? Maybe if there's like evidence of that, right? Go back slightly. It was better when it was like this kind of mixed economy. Has it not been attempted though? No, not really. Not what I'm in favor of, right? Like people that point to the USSR as an example of socialism or communism really don't understand what my position actually is or what it entails, right? Because, I mean, aside from the fact that, like, you know, I'm not a communist, I'm just a market socialist. Those are different things, right? I'm in favor of libertarian socialism, right? Not authoritarian socialism. I'm very, very anti-tanky, right? I'm anti-authoritarian. So if you take a look at where it's been tried before, right, you'll notice that on the y-axis of the political compass, right, we're also authoritarian. I'm against that. Because I don't believe that socialism or communism is when the government owns stuff. So rather than having, I don't know, that be the outcome that I would advocate for, right? Because I'm against that. I'm in favor of, I don't know, like actual collective ownership that like makes decisions for like who's like the manager, CEO, etc. at a company. It's good to hear you're not a tanky. Well, no, well, that's the thing is tankies are extremely illogical. And I don't believe in things that are illogical. So socialism slash communism never works because the CIA doesn't want it to. You know, you might have a point. Or considering how our foreign policy tends to be, but billionaires aren't people. This is true. To be honest, I'd like capitalism if there was an independent organization to specifically watch government officials and make sure they're not getting bribes, loopholes or not. Well, it's not just about watching government officials, right? It doesn't change anything. Like, yeah, okay, maybe that would make politicians less corrupt, but it's also going to be the case that corporations are still just as corrupt, that are doing things for a profit. Right? That's not just government officials, it's also going to be corporations, right? They're going to exploit their laborers, right? They're going to arbitrarily raise prices when they don't need to. Why? Because they want to maximize profit. That's the only thing that they care about is profit maximization, even if it's the expense of society more broadly, right? They don't care if it's at the expense of society because they benefit from it. I don't disagree too hard with what you want in the end. I just feel like those problems can be solved with capitalism. Yeah, I just fundamentally disagree. I think at a certain point, after technology, advances, right, to the point where everything is done by AI, like all necessary jobs that are required to live and whatnot. Like once we don't need workers, essentially, if we live under capitalism at that point, we're fucked. Okay? We're fucked. Which is why we got to start advocating now, because we don't want society to be fucked for the people of the future, right? Because if it's a capitalist system, what happens is nobody is a worker, nobody benefits from it, aside from the few people at the top that inherited wealth, that also didn't work for it, didn't do anything. They just got lucky with owning it, and they reap all the rewards where everybody else suffers, right? I don't, um, I wouldn't use Cuba as an example. I don't think that Cuba has like the same system that I'd be advocating for. I think Cuba also has like other issues. True socialism requires to be perfect, not like perfect, but I think you'd understand what I mean. People are not perfect. No, that's not true. Like I don't know what you mean by true socialism. Cuba is fourth world. Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is like regardless of what economic system, like a country that has like no money, it's like a third or fourth world country essentially. They're not going to be doing well, right? If Afghanistan switched to capitalism, right, it would still be a shithole, right? It's not going to magically stop being a shithole under capitalism, right? There are plenty of I mean, hell, Russia's a shithole, and that's like a well, that's not even just capitalist. That's like that's oligarchical, to be fair. Which I guess is like an extreme version of capitalism, really. It's like late stage capitalism at its worst. Communism requires that people can't be corrupt. People are inherently greedy. Yeah, I've heard this like a million times. Look, again, I'm a market socialist, not a communist. Like the reason that I would be like against like something like anarcho-communism, if that's what you're trying to get at, is like Russia was not communist. It was state capitalist, right? Communism is not when the government owns stuff, right? It's basically just what you have is this big plot of land known as the USSR, okay? And you've got Joseph Stalin, the landlord, all right? You have to abide by the rules that your landlord sets if you want to live in the USSR, essentially. So basically, no, it's not communism. It's not how that works. Like the problem that you have is not communism, it's authoritarianism. Or you get evicted to Siberia. That's, yeah, fair enough. This is what people always do. They say, oh, that wasn't true communism. No, it's not that it wasn't true communism. It's that it wasn't even close to communism fundamentally. Like, not even close. Like, if shit isn't collectively owned, it's just not communism. That's just, like, not how that works. Right? If everything is owned by, like, one person or a few elites at the top, right? If anything, that's super capitalism. Right? It's literally just a monopoly on power, right? That's what you end up with when you try to do it, though? No, that's not true. Keep in mind that the USSR was, like, very unstable to begin with due to the fact that, like, they had just overthrown, you know, the original government, which was treating them unfairly, right? And what you ended up with is you had different factions of people. You had different factions of people that essentially were originally sort of teamed up during the original revolution or whatever. And then they started fighting each other, right? And let's just say that the people that agree with my ideals did not win. They lost the fight. So they didn't get to make the government that they wanted. That's why the point has been made that everything has to be perfect for it to work. No, it's that if people with completely different ideological positions from me, well, not just me, I guess, but people that have different positions that are like more authoritarian, I guess. If they're the ones that end up in power, then like, yeah, it's gonna get fucked. That's not, again, that's not the fault of communism, right? Like by having a government have a bunch of power, just like do whatever the fuck it wants, then like, yeah, when you enable that, then yeah, of course it's gonna go wrong. But you can be against that and not enable that and be in favor of communism. Hell, I'm not a communist, but that's like I think it's like a really bad argument. You will never get everyone on board with what you think your correct idea of communism is, though. Well, no, of course not. But what I can say is that when, I don't know, people advocate for an authoritarian government structure, which is what they did, and that's what they got, well, and you end up with the results of authoritarianism, right? But again, if somebody was advocating for something like, I don't know, libertarian socialism, guess what? It probably wouldn't have turned out so bad, right? If that's what ended up in power was libertarian socialists, and then they actually did, reform the government to reflect that and restricted the power of the government, which is not what they did. Right? If there were actual limitations on the government, similar to what we have in the US, prevented it from doing shit, it's been a lot harder to go completely nutso. Nutso is a weird way of saying it. But You still always need a mean distribution in communism, which is what makes it not work. Look, I'm not a communist, but is yours not authoritarian? You were mandating that large companies give ownership to their employees. I would say that if that's authoritarian, then it would also be authoritarian to tell states that they can't ban abortion, right? But I would disagree with that. I would say no, because in that case, the government is protecting people's rights. They're saying, no, you can't infringe upon people's rights. You can't tell them that they can't do that, right? Similarly, if a corporation is, say, for instance, infringing upon the rights of people, you would agree that the government should step in. It's not authoritarian. Now, with that being said, the same way that there are certain essentially rules that U.S. state governments have to abide by, right? Same thing would be applicable for the for corporate entities, right? Again, that's not going to be authoritarian. So, if one of those rules is protecting the rights of workers and consumers and protecting and maximizing good for them and financial freedom for them, which is what it would do, by the way, then it's really not authoritarian because you're just maximizing people's freedom. Because money is power. And ultimately, the rights of a corporation should not supersede the rights of its workers. I would say it's authoritarian to mandate all states ban abortion. Well, yeah, of course. That would be authoritarian, but not because you're telling states what they can and can't do. It's authoritarian on the basis of you are taking people's rights away. But in the opposite direction, mandating that all states allow abortion, mandating that they allow abortion, is not authoritarian. Why? Well, because you're protecting people's rights. It's the difference. You are maximizing freedom in that case, which is good. Look, I'm going to consistently take the pro-freedom position. All right, that's never going to change. Whatever maximizes freedom for the greatest number of people, that's what I'm in favor of. Freedom is no authoritarian, though. Well, freedom includes freedom from, I don't know, corporations taking advantage of you. Right? Freedom is not slaving away at an Amazon warehouse under horrible working conditions, barely scraping by in life. All right, that shit's not freedom. All right? Freedom entails that workers have rights. And in order to achieve that, you have to move beyond capitalism. Sorry, chat, I got our stun locked. You absolutely did. Okay, I've been getting one guide, like half the stream. Oh my god, we're almost 2 hours into it. Hey, you saw the lyrics and you picture I made in blue sky? No, that sounds hilarious. I gotta see that. Hold on. Blue sky. I don't know if I've ever used it on PC. This will be... Okay, I'm gonna sign in. Okay, never mind. I don't remember my login. I'll have to look at it. I have it somewhere, I'm sure. Okay, I'm just gonna search Femyoz. All right. Well, search is unavailable when logged out. Motherfucker. Are you libertarian then? I'm a libertarian market socialist. So, yeah. Pretty much. I'm just anti-authoritarian. So, yeah, kinda. No, it doesn't still require an invite. I'm just like... Dude, yeah, I don't remember my login. I'm sorry. Otherwise, I'd look at it on stream. Maybe tomorrow. So is the market like free market? I mean, it guess depends on what you mean by free, right? Like, I'm still in favor of like having a market economy. Like that's why I'm in favor of market socialism, because I think a market-based economy is going to be like at least in current society, it's going to be required to function as like an incentive structure for people to like actually be productive and whatnot, because we still do need workers and whatnot, right? But yeah, like I'm not in favor of corporations owning everything. All right. Corporations fucking own you. All right. They fucking own you. They control you. And there isn't shit you can do about it under capitalism. So, just saying. Yeah, free market refers to freedom for corporations. That's usually what people mean. That's why I always ask that. Freedom for who? For people or corporate entities? Because corporate entities don't necessarily deserve rights. They're corporations. They're not people. And well, let's just say them having more rights does not magically translate to people having more rights. It seems like it's quite the opposite. So, we already have our data. No, it's almost like capitalism is bad or something. It's almost like capitalism incentivizes corporations doing bad things, like selling our data to sketchy ass motherfuckers. Who would have guessed? We live in a corporate, quote unquote, socialism. They get all the benefits of the system. No, we don't live under. There's no such thing as corporate socialism. It's like an oxymoron. That's like saying we live under communistic capitalism. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyways, I'm gonna restart stream. I didn't expect to go over this long. Capitalism is good until it isn't. Yeah, I'm gonna restart stream. All right. So don't leave me. We're just restarting a stream for the algorithm. Yeah.